in the 3600 block of Loganville Highway to request for apartments with a buffer reduction in District 3. Is the applicant here? Is there any opposition to this case? Those are not the same, I don't think, are they? Are we hearing, are these cases together? Are these cases together?
They are associated requests, or if you want to hear
District
them separately,
3,
you can.
District 3, do you want to hear these two cases together? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I don't know who asked that question from the audience, but apparently I'm taking questions from the audience. Case number 14 and 15, RZM 2021-00002 and RZR 2021-00003. Retail Planning Corporation is the applicant. 3600 block of Loganville Highway, a request for apartments with buffer reduction. In the 200 block of Hoke O'Kelly Mill Road, a request for a traditional neighborhood development with buffer reduction in District 3.
The applicant requests rezoning to RM13 and T&D for the construction of 11 buildings with 276 apartment units and 123 single-family attached and detached lots. Multifamily access would be provided via Loganville Highway. Proposed multifamily amenities would include a clubhouse, swimming pool, dog walk areas, and pocket parks, as well as 5.9 acres of open space. T&D access would be provided via Hoke O'Kelly Mill Road. The proposed T&D development would consist of 19 small-size single-family detached homes, 17 mid-size single-family detached homes, and 87 townhouses. Furthermore, the applicant has submitted buffer reductions for both requests. Staff notes the majority of the property is located within the Grayson, Georgia Highway 20 Overlay District. Additionally, the subject property is in an established neighborhoods character area as defined by the 2040 Unified Plan. A traffic impact study was provided to staff with the application submittal. Planning and Development staff has recommended denial of both subject requests. Also, I would like to note that I've provided Planning Commission updated copies of the case report. Staff inadvertently omitted county DOT recommended conditions in our alternate set of conditions, and so that has been provided.
Thank you. The applicant? And as the audience member noted, these two cases are heard together, so there are 20 minutes allotted for each side.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. Shane Lanham, 1550 North Brown Road, Suite 125 in Lawrenceville. Here on behalf of the applicant requesting your recommendation of approval of these related rezoning requests for property located on State Route 20, Grayson Highway, Loganville Highway, here at the intersection with Hoke O'Kelly Mill Road. Here with us tonight is Charlie Hurd with Retail Planning Corporation, representative of the applicant as well. So the subject property is here. We have two combined rezoning requests, one for the multifamily rezoning component here along Loganville Highway, and then a T&D component here, which has its primary frontage here, located on Hoke O'Kelly Mill Road. What you'll see here is the corner has been omitted from the rezoning applications. That corner tract is under the same ownership as the subject properties. In fact, all four corners of this intersection are owned by the same family and have been for decades. But this corner is being omitted from the pending requests and being reserved for future commercial development is the plan. So these two requests were submitted to provide a mixed residential community here along the right-of-way of State Route 20. So the subject property, as I mentioned, has been in the same family for decades and has borne its apparent zoning classification for decades as well. And the fact that it hasn't been substantially marketed or put up for sale or rezoned, are the reasons that it has not been rezoned. I mean, the subject property, and I'll show some exhibits to help illustrate this point. but the property has significant frontage on State Route 20. It's located at its intersection with Hoke-O'Kelly Mill Road, which is classified as a minor collector roadway on the Gwinnett County Long Range Road Classification map. So Loganville Highway, I think the most recent counts available from DOT from 2019, this segment of State Route 20 has over 23,000 vehicle trips per day. It's a heavily traveled corridor. We are just about a half a mile away from the city limits of Loganville, which is continuing to develop. So here's an area map that we prepared just to try and provide some context for the location of the property. You can see it here starred on this map. So we're located along one of the legs of this triangle that goes, Lawrenceville, Snellville, Loganville, State Route 124, U.S. Route 78, State Route 20, and those corridors are good examples of how this area of Gwinnett has experienced what is a typical development pattern. Development is usually initially occurs along those major corridors, those major thoroughfares connecting activity centers, and it tends to happen at specific intersections with other highly classified roads. So corridor development is typical, and development at certain specific intersections is typical as well. This exhibit shows how that trend has occurred already and shows zoning classifications along State Route 20 and U.S. Route 78, where we've highlighted the commercial and multifamily zoning classifications along those roadways. So here's the subject property located there. And you can see these highlighted, bolded commercial and multifamily parcels along State Route 20, including some here at the Independence development, and then also here as we continue into Loganville before we get into the central business district there, additional commercial zoning classifications. Specifically, there's some here at the intersection with Brand Road. Also have an excerpt to show. So this is an excerpt of that Gwinnett County Long Range Road Classification map, and you can see 78, 20, the development has occurred along those major roadways, and a lot of it is occurring at these intersections with other roadways that are classified as collectors or higher. Here's another exhibit to make that point, and this is where there's those commercial, those mixed-use nodes are in existence here along, again, State Route 20 and 78. Here's the proposed site. So we're definitely not the far edge of development. I mean, we all know that this part of Gwinnett County is growing, and is growth that I think is anticipated in this area. One, due to the road classifications that we have, but also because commercial development has already been provided for through zonings and has been developed here beyond us. And as Gwinnett continues to grow and Loganville continues to grow, we anticipate that corridor will continue to develop, and those nodes here at those specific intersections will continue to develop as well. This next exhibit is an excerpt that's been marked up from the 2040 plan. This is the 2040 plan future development map. And again, what we've done here is to try to highlight those corridors where this type of development has occurred and show that for the most part, those corridors are in this community mixed use character area. It's 20 here, we're still talking about State Route 20, but here, known as Buford Drive, connecting Buford and Lawrenceville. We have Lilburn and Lawrenceville, that corridor. We have the Scenic Highway corridor between Snellville and Lawrenceville, and then also between Snellville and Loganville, Highway 78. Those are all highly classified roadways, and they've all experienced substantial commercial and mixed-use development, and including some multifamily residential uses. And so we're highlighting that because we think it's appropriate to consider those policies that are in place for those community mixed-use character areas for this property, just because there's a lot of similarities and we check a lot of the boxes for those character areas, for that specific character area. One of those is the availability of services. So here's a map that we created that shows some adjacent single-family subdivisions that are similar to the single-family detached component that we're proposing as part of the T&D rezoning. There's some OSCs and other R100 CSOs, conservation-type subdivisions with 50 and 60-foot wide lots that are comparable to what we're proposing in our single-family detached component, which has both 50-foot wide and 60-foot wide detached lots, as well as some townhomes in that T&D component. What this map also shows is the availability of services, of utilities in the area. So recently, Gwinnett County constructed a new regional pump station here off of Brand Road, and that is part of a plan that was implemented. I think it was when the 2017 or 2018 budget was created, but it was a specific type of development that was designed to encourage economic development of that corridor. That pump station is fed by an 18-inch sewer interceptor line here on the right-of-way of State Route 20, which flows from the subject property to that pump station and then is pumped to a different treatment facility. So an 18-inch interceptor line is not necessarily infrastructure that the county pays to install to serve low-intensity, low-density, single-family detached residential development. That type of infrastructure is implemented in order to serve more intense uses, commercial uses, multifamily uses, like the proposed development. Here's a exhibit showing how we've arranged the site plan. We kind of have different pods in our site plan. So here in this salmon color is where we have the proposed multifamily. We've designed that to be located up on the right-of-way of State Route 20. We are bounded by a creek which runs through the middle of the property here that provides separation from adjacent single-family uses. This pod over here is our all townhomes pod. We've located that again on the Loganville Highway side of the creek, adjacent to this parcel that's been being reserved by the owners for commercial development. And then here in the yellow portion, moving away from Loganville Highway along Hoco-Kelly Mill Road, is where we've got our single-family detached component, which also has a couple little areas of townhomes mixed into that area. So here's our site plan that shows those in a little bit more specific detail. But the idea there, the land planning thought process there, is to provide the multifamily development up along the right-of-way of Loganville Highway, where the commercial is going to be, but then provide a transition, step down away from those that intense, more intense, relatively commercial use, step down away from the multifamily, where here we've got wide stream buffers, impervious setbacks as a result of that water body, but then stepping down to these townhomes and then stepping down to the mixed detached and attached single-family component. So we made several efforts to reach out to the community and actually had a Zoom meeting with the one member of the community that we were able to get in touch with. You know, we send out letters to everybody that owns property within 1,000 feet. We'd made several requests to staff to see if anyone had contacted them, that there was contact information we could speak with. We understand that there are people here to speak on this case. We look forward to hearing what their comments are and look forward to a process in which we can engage with them now that we'll be introduced to each other tonight to try to work on this. So we look forward to hearing their comments and seeing what we can do to address it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions y'all may have, but would like to reserve the balance of my time for rebuttal.
Thank you. How much time is remaining? 8.5 minutes are remaining. Any questions for the applicant?
I have one. If part of your argument, if I'm understanding correctly, is you're treating this kind of as a neighborhood node, this intersection. If there's no commercial there now, then why are we not also discussing the node initially is created typically by some kind of commercial element that would feed the surrounding residential, particularly if we're going to talk multifamily. So why is it that we're not considering commercial as well now? You mentioned the parcel that's reserved, but why not that? Or if the property across the street is also owned by the same family, why not that as well, to try to create an actual node that these properties could serve?
Right. That's a great question. I think part of it has to do with on the one hand, some of that infrastructure. That interceptor line is new, and I think before, without that infrastructure in place that the county recently installed, there was not as much of a commercial market to serve the area because it relies on different pieces of infrastructure, and that sewer facilities is part of it. Also, just up the road, again about a half-mile away from us, is the Independence development, which was approved a few years ago now, and parts of that development were reserved for commercial development, which haven't exactly materialized yet, but the commercial zonings are in place. There's a section of commercial zonings here, and then on the, call it the southwest side of State Route 20. So in a sense, I think the commercial development was one waiting on the appropriate infrastructure to be in place, which it is now, and then I think also, not going into the weeds on sort of recent struggles that retail generally has experienced. Add COVID on top of just sort of an internet shift. A lot of folks are using Amazon instead of brick and mortar, so retail is evolving. But what a lot of retail operators will say is that they want to see those rooftops. They want to see that body heat in place where they know that there are established communities of people that are, they're built-in customers right there next to them. So a lot of times commercial will go forward with the residential. Sometimes they sort of wait, especially I think recently, they wait to see the residential development come in, and then they find a place among it.
Any further questions for the applicant?
Yeah, just trailing on to what Commissioner Crossner had said, because during our conversation that we had with myself, Commissioner, Archer, and yourself, we asked the same question. So if you're creating a market by having that type of density, the commercial element could be included as a part of your submission, correct?
And so this proposed development, as the applications sit right now, don't have a commercial component. We've reserved that one piece at the corner. I will mention that in 2020, we submitted another set of applications that had a larger commercial component. As we continued to work forward on those cases, continued to get feedback from staff relative to those applications, and did additional market research on the commercial components, we decided it was appropriate to scale those back. That the large-scale commercial development that we had proposed, which is generally where the multifamily is located, we thought it would be appropriate to scale those back, have a smaller commercial component at this quadrant of the intersection, while, as I mentioned, the remaining three corners of that Hoco-Kelly Mill Road, Loganville Highway intersection are not developed yet. So there's ample opportunity for commercial development at that intersection in the future.
Just one real quick question. I didn't see a breakdown within the provided documents of the unit breakdown for the multifamily, how many bedrooms per unit that was provided in the 276 units you're proposing to develop.
Yeah, so the development would be primarily 1 and 2 bedroom units. I think Gwinnett County staff recommended a condition that would cap the number of bedrooms at a number of 3 bedrooms at 10%, but we may not have the exact unit mix settled now. That's something that we'll gain clarity on as we work through the zoning process. But at this point, I can say that it's going to be predominantly the 1 and 2 bedroom units, not primarily 3 bedroom units.
Any further questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Time for opposition. And again, I would just ask you to respect the markers that are on the carpets to maintain social distancing, please. Thank you.
All right. So I'm really nervous.
If you can start by stating your name and address.
It's coming. It's coming.
Okay.
I thought you should know I'm nervous first, so if I get my name wrong, you'll know why.
Well, I thought that was the easy part. You can at least get your name and address right.
You would think.
It is late.
My name is Bill Dale. I live at 754 Willow Wind Drive, which, if you're looking, is the road that kind of runs off to the side there, and would be the one of the ingress/egress points for the proposed apartment complex. My mom always taught me that when you are nervous, to dress nicely, because at least then there will be that. So I decided to
You
dress
look very
nicely
nice.
for you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've lived at my home on Willow Wind Drive for nearly 18 years. For the bulk of that 18 years, it's been a pretty quiet, forest-filled, suburban, almost rural sort of community, as evidenced by the fact that our neighborhood for many years was fronted by a strawberry patch that we've probably all been to at some point with our families. I raised my kids there. I have 5 daughters. Pausing for dramatic effect on that one. Okay. 3 of whom have graduated from Archer. 1 will graduate from Archer in the spring, and another one still has 4 more years to go, so we got her to work on. I'm on my 2nd stint right now as president for Willow Wind Park Homeowners Association. Some of us don't learn very quickly, so we do it twice.
Bless you.
Yeah, I know. I get that a lot, mostly for the daughters thing, though. We've watched, as the last couple of years, we've seen growth has come to our area, as evidenced by the fact that the intersection that is in question, Hoco Kelly and Georgia 20, within about a mile in either direction of that intersection, as the applicant has already pointed out, we've got north of 1,000 homes in various stages of development. Some built, some just barely clearing land, but we have a lot of growth coming to us. Some of those homes are going to be for sale. Some of those will be for rent. We have a kind of a big mix of growth already coming our way. And so I'm speaking, and just so that we're on the same page, I'm speaking in a comprehensive manner for both of the applications, T and U, that are before us this evening. Our community really only became aware of this a couple of weeks ago. Now, maybe that's on us. We, just like you guys, we work and have jobs, and we get wrapped up in our stuff, and this hit us. And as you might imagine, there is an awful lot of energy right now across our communities. As a matter of fact, would it be all right to just take a second and can we ask those who actually that I'm acting as voice for, who actually would agree with this opposition, to either stand or raise their hand? Is that okay? Could we stand briefly, those who came tonight to be seen? Thank you. Thank you all. Those are my neighbors. So we've been trying very hard to help channel that energy toward positive action, toward communication, much of it toward this planning commission. Hopefully everybody was polite, especially for Mr. Williams. I know a lot of it was probably aimed in yours and Mr. Archer's direction, just because you're District 3 and we're District 3, so we're neighbors. We have a petition. I believe each of you probably saw that online petition. It crested, I think it's just a little shy of 1,000 signatures just in the last couple of weeks. There have been a lot of emails. There have been a lot of phone calls. I can't tell you how many people have said, yeah, I just emailed, or I just spoke with Mr. Williams for 45 minutes or something like that. By the way, thank you. That's very, very kind of you. We sent a letter. I have coordinated with the homeowners associations immediately next to us, Plantation at Bay Creek and Laurel Mist. The 3 neighborhoods together represent about 800 homes. all of whom would be affected by this additional development. And just to summarize our letters, or our letter to you, we congratulated and thanked and agreed with the recommendation from your planning department staff. We appreciated that. And we took a moment to recognize the excellent guidance that does come to us from the Gwinnett 2040 Unified Plan. It's focus on smart growth, because we see growth. We recognize growth comes. Let's just be intelligent about it. Let's have intelligent progress, right? The focus on a nodular framework with transitioning from one node to the next. We like that. That makes sense. Preservation of green space, preservation of the existing character of an area where growth is coming in. These things all matter. The concept of a tapestry segmentation, where we actually take what is essentially a multivariate analysis of all of the elements that come into play that create a community, that turns the tagline "Work, Play, Live" into something that actually has real science and rigor behind it, as opposed to just being a tagline. And our conclusion in our letter from the 3 HOAs was to support the staff's recommendation and follow the guidance of the Gwinnett 2040 plan. Now, in conclusion, because I'm hoping I want to hopefully leave some time for the gentlemen and lady who are behind me and want to speak, I do want to take a moment to focus on the whole work, play, live idea, because work, play, live is a cool tagline. But for us, this is happening real time. These are our lives. We are your friends. We are your family. We are your neighbors. We are your coworkers, right? I was discouraged before coming here. Multiple people said, don't mention impact on education, on traffic, on property values, on infrastructure. That'll all be discussed. It's not a good idea. But to us, that's real. We get up every day. We go to work. Our kids go to school. They learn to drive on those roads. We've already got 1,000 homes coming to us, most of which have not even been built yet. And this would be 400 additional families that we would have to absorb. I love growth. Growth is good. I sell for a living, if you guys haven't figured that out. Okay?
I don't know why you're nervous.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm getting ready for my big crescendo. Okay. These things matter to us deeply. Okay. Our encouragement is, let's talk about it. Engage with us. I loved what Mr. Lanham said. Let's partner together. Okay. Let's have a town hall. We will spring for the refreshments. Okay. COVID friendly, I promise. Okay. We'll make sure that happens. But until then, until we can arrive at some kind of a mutually beneficial conclusion, our request is to deny the applications and let's start fresh and work together.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the opposition?
You've done well for a very nervous guy. You've done pretty good.
I don't think I believe
Could
it.
you see the knees knocking back in there?
Yes, I did.
I wore baggy pants just in case.
I don't have a question, but appreciate what you were saying, and goes back to what Mr. Lanham had said earlier. Since you represent so many homeowners, would you be amenable to having a meeting to discuss whether you agree or disagree, but getting a meeting of the minds to at least see if there can be some modifications or some joint discussion, obviously, as to whether or not how this is going to be benefit to the community.
Absolutely. At the risk of speaking for my two fellow HOA presidents who couldn't be here tonight, they're probably watching this being streamed right now. Sure. But I'm sure that the three of us would work together with a number of individuals who have been very helpful as we have prepared our thoughts and remarks for this evening, some of them sitting over there. But absolutely would love to facilitate some kind of a conversation.
Yeah, and I would add, to the subsequent speakers, the same thing, give the applicant an opportunity to have the dialogue, because he indicated that he had a limited amount of contact. Even though he sent out notices. Well, there are several people that have a vested interest that have shown up tonight, and I think, having a meeting of the minds would be beneficial, whether you agree or disagree. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Further opposition? How much time is remaining for the opposition? 13 minutes.
make it quick. Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'm Ray Martinez. I'm the mayor of the great city of Loganville.
Welcome.
Normally, I'm used to sitting on your side. I'm not used to standing here. But
It's better to be on your side, right?
Madam Chair, I got my own petition, really. Besides Mr. Valdell, as mayor, everybody thinks that something comes down in Loganville, the city's dealing with it. So I'm getting all the calls, even though it's unincorporated. And I said it's not part of the city. But I am going to tell you my petition and my email. Everybody's that is against this, and I am totally against this too. And me and Shane, we've done some work with Shane. He's a good man. We've approved some projects for Shane in the city of Loganville. But we have a couple of zonings that's been approved 15 years ago, even before I became mayor. Within a few miles from this development, we got about 320 apartments coming down on Highway 78. Of course, that's on the Walton side. If you guys are familiar, Ben Archer, if you guys are familiar with Maxi Price, right across the street from Maxi Price, that field, we got, as they're tearing down trees as we speak right now, 320. We also got about 270 right in front of Logan Point, which is Highway 81 in the Walton side, which is about 3 miles from the development right now. And we got about 27 on Highway 20, right around the library, the Loganville Library. So I am against this. I am listening to my folks in Loganville, a lot of folks in Loganville here. And as mayor, it's my obligation to listen to them and to respect their decisions. I will be delighted to sit down with Shane. We've done it before when he did some work for Loganville. A couple more things. As you go down Loganville, on the Gwinnett side of Loganville, there's a four-way road in Loganville. Once you get to the city of Loganville, it goes to two. We've been working with GDOT to get those to extend four-way road past 81 by the Quick Trip. With GDOT, it's hard to get anything done, so that's going to take a while. But right now, as you're coming down from Gwinnett, of course, you got the four-way, the four-lane. When you get down to Loganville, it crunches down to two. So I believe the traffic's going to be a little hard going down through there. And then real quick, we got a couple years ago, we did the downtown overlay district, which I believe our downtown should be developed. If you go down to Loganville, there's nothing there from Highway 78 to Highway 20. So we're still working on that. And that's about it. That's all I got, really. I am, as mayor of the great city of Loganville, I'm on the record of saying that I oppose this project, and I am listening to my fellow citizens in Loganville. And like I said, I got my own petition and my own email. My phone's ringing off the hook because everything always comes down to the mayor. But that's all right. I'll take the blame for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for being. There may be some questions for you, so if you don't run off too soon.
You should know this process.
I forgot. Don't run off too quick. Yes.
I'm well familiar with Loganville. My grandmother was vice mayor for a while and a councilwoman for a decade or so ago. But is one of your arguments against these apartments that y'all have approved apartments in Loganville, so you don't want more apartments outside of Loganville?
That's right. We got 320, like I say, we got 320, and this property has been zoned for that. Or it's called RM8. It's been zoned years ago for 320 right across Maxi Price. We got 270 right on Highway 81. Of course, that's on the Walton side, but basically we're about 3 or 4 miles from that development. We also got some single-family homes that I think we worked along with Shane on Highway 81, 127 single-family homes on 81 and Bay Creek. And then, of course, Brand Road, and like Shane said, we got some more on the Grayson side on 20. We're just inundated. I'm going to be honest with you. We just expanded our, and I'm talking about the city of Loganville, we just expanded our water treatment plant to increase our water supply because we're just inundated. And this is some of the things that happened even before, this was some of the zoning that took place even before I got to the council, which I've been there now 10 years, 4 years as mayor, and these are some of the decisions that the prior administrations did to zone this property for apartments in Loganville. And that's the reason why I'm against this project, because we're just, as a matter of fact, we stopped a moratorium from RM8 to RM16 to reduce the landscape of density in Loganville. So we're trying to catch up right now if that answers your question, Mr. Quach.
Yep, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions for the mayor? Thank you very much
you.
for being here. Further opposition?
Good evening. My name is James Vanterpool. I'm a resident of Loganville. I live on Wildwood at Meadowgate. I'm the vice president of the HOA. My colleague, Sean, is also the president of the HOA. I've been living in the area, I would say, around like 8 years now. I was here before for Independence. And we know what Independence is developing. Everyone knows the conditions. We know the amount of homes that they're developing. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, they got T&Ds in there. 20 already got too many apartments complex. We got townhomes. We overpopulated with homes. And that whole area between Grayson High School, all that property that they bought from, I believe it was Georgia State University, that Independence purchased, most of it is commercial. I'm going to the point of the gentleman talking about commercial property being zoned later on there. That I don't approve. We don't like it. The T&Ds on the apartments, neither. We don't need more. As you all know, Grayson High School is overpopulated. The tech school for Grayson High School that support many other schools in the area is overpopulated. Grayson High School just is about or just finished building the adjacent buildings in the back to accommodate the students, and here we go again, throwing more at it. Putting apartments and townhomes with a commercial in front is just going to bring loitering. Our new precinct will not be able to support the growing amount of residential properties in the area. This should stay at R100 for the value of the properties, for the safety of the communities, and by the way, I'm the cops, I'm liaison also for GCPD for our community, and also for our children to be able to grow in the community that we move them into. And if y'all understand the area and really care, y'all will not approve any more T&Ds or any more apartments along 20 or around the area that is close to Grayson High School and the schools that service that area. That's all I have to say. Y'all have a blessed evening.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the gentleman? Thank you very much. Further opposition? How much time is remaining?
I was going to ask, the last time you said 20 minutes.
8 minutes.
Hi, my name is Chris Holloway. I live at 3675 Loganville Highway. So for all of you that don't know where that is, it's right there. Okay. So I have a very strong interest in what's going on, and I'm going to say that I'm not opposed. Good arguments for, good arguments against. That's all part of the process. And I didn't buy a lot on Loganville Highway thinking it was never going to be different around me. But a lot's happened since 2017, since I purchased that property. This whole area behind me is, as you know, Central Park, which is under construction. So when I moved in there, it was all woods behind me, wildlife, quiet. The sun didn't shine in my back windows until the last minute, and all that changed when the Hensons sold that property. So now I've got this development coming in next to me, and I'm not really here. I mean, it's going to go whichever way it's going to go. I sell building products for a living, so building is good, okay? I'm okay with that part of it, but it needs to be controlled, and it needs to be at the, out of respect for the community. But my thing here is to make sure, because I'm going to take a little issue with you, sir, because the first time they sent out the rendering of this development, when it did have the commercial space, I reached out to you multiple times.
If you could direct all the comments to us, please.
Okay. I reached out to him multiple times in spite of his comment about reaching out to the community. He never returned my call. I did speak with a gentleman at Retail Planning Corporation. Outside of that, crickets. So, I've been following this pretty closely, but my main thing and the point of getting in touch with them was understanding better what their exact plan was going to be, how it's going to affect, because between our two properties, there's no trees. It's just flat pasture. So if I don't have the rendering of the property, if I could real quick. If you look at the...
And you also have a pointer to your right.
Yeah, but I need a picture of the development that they're proposing. Kind of hard to see, but this right here, that is a retention pond off the edge of my, that's a building at the end of my driveway. That's a garage, that rectangle. That's a retention pond. This is an amenity, and it's shaped like a pool. That's the leasing office. Okay, so that's not a lot of space between me and a mosquito factory or a snake pit or whatever might be going on. So my interest here is to make sure that whatever happens, I get proper separation from it. You know, I like the case before. They talked about 8-foot tall fences, mature screening trees, all that kind of stuff needs to be taken into consideration. And I really want to go on the record as far as that goes, because it's going to be literally right on top of my driveway. Okay, now the other thing I want to mention real quick is when I talked to Retail Planning Corporation, you know, I'd asked them about the access that the reason they bought my property, the neighbor right next to me, was to get access to the divided highway right there and put an intersection in there. I won't have access to that. So in my driveway, you have to turn right. You can't take a left or right. It's just right only. Okay? And that's always been that way for me. But I won't have access to the benefit that all 400 other units that are going to be living next door to me will have, which is the ability to take a left and go to Grayson or Lawrenceville without having to go and make a U-turn at Brand Road. So those are my concerns. That's it for me. I'll turn it over for them.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for it?
Quick question for you.
Sure.
Since you live right next door, like you mentioned, development to some extent is inevitable. You know, for this property is probably not going to stay vacant for long. But what would you like to see next door?
Well, I asked them to buy my property and just extend their, because originally the retail space, they could have just made it, it's perfect for that. So eventually somebody will, and then that apartment complex will have some sort of commercial operation next door to it, and that'll be where I used to live. Listen, my neighbors, they're old, they're wanting to retire. They used to own the property I live on. It's, you know, they're, I think, seeing what's going on around them, and they've lost a lot of their privacy. I mean, the houses that are in Central Park behind us are 3-story basement, 2 stories on a basement, just towering over our properties now, literally. It's just nothing but the backs of houses, and, you know, they're ready to retire and move on. I don't expect to be living there forever either. So, and again, I can't stand here and say I don't want to see something good happen, but I want to see the right thing happen, and I want to make sure that when 400 units worth of folks that are living next door to me aren't just looking in my garage every day, because it directly faces that property. So, you know, that's
again,
kind of where
I would
I'm
like
at.
to go on. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to go on record that, you know, we publicly stated that if the group is amenable, I would, you know, highly suggest that you organize and have a couple representatives to speak, you know, not necessarily for the collective group, but to speak and have a meeting with Mr. Lanham. You know, if he has said that no one has contacted him, we're on record now saying that it should be a meeting of the mind. So if it doesn't happen, then, you know, we'll have additional issues, you know, thereafter. But back to what Commissioner Kroschner was saying, you know, can't say no to everything. So what would be in the best interest of that land that you could see moving down the road, whether they agree to it or not, but come up with a solution as opposed to just saying no in some cases. So that would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Any further questions for the opposition? Thank you very much, sir. How much time is remaining? 3.5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Marika Trump. I live at 429 Hoco Kelly Mill Road Southeast. So across the way on the left side of Willow Wind. I've lived in that area. My family has for over 40 plus years. We have an agricultural business. A few things that I don't think that have been brought up. First off, this land was in conservation, so I don't know how long it's been out of conservation. My father helped Mr. Livesey, the family that had that in conservation, put it in conservation. So it kind of was, I think a cornerstone of Gwinnett County being somewhat rural. We feel as a group, because I'm with Bill Dale and the HOA, that high-density housing is not in character with this area. It's not a walkable area. We don't have many amenities. Anyone that wants to go and have any kind of amenities needs to go to Grayson or to Loganville. Most people are going to go towards Loganville. Once again, we have 4 lanes going to 2 lanes. And the new properties that are being built there don't have any room without tearing down homes. These new properties are going in with no possibility, it seems, to put it to 4 lanes. We have a bad bottleneck going into the city of Loganville. So I'd like another traffic study done also, because it didn't take into account how many new subdivisions we have coming in at this area at the same time. I think this is kind of unprecedented. We've got at least 6, if not 7, if not 8 subdivisions coming within a 2 to 3 mile radius of a very rural area at a very fast time. So my issue with that would be that the traffic study needs to take into account some lights. My father almost died at the Hoco-Kelly intersection some years back. He's deceased since then, but he sustained very bad injuries from that point. Also, where the Willow Wind Drive goes in, we didn't mention that subdivision has 1 in and out. By taking out by putting in more property across the street from there, you're making a big safety hazard for those people going in and out through the fire department. And lastly, let me see. Loganville already has a really high level of rentals, more so than most cities in the state of Georgia, in a very short amount of time. And so we feel like we need a little bit more time to absorb some of these new homes and look at the repercussions before we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the opposition? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you time to speak because you've been waiting in that line very patiently. So if you could just make it brief, because it is 11 p.m. and we still have other cases.
Thank you for your graciousness. Good evening, Sean Thompson, president of Wildwood at Meadowgate. Make it real brief and succinct. I'm the individual that lives in the community, and I want you to take a ride with me right quick. So imagine an individual that says, 5 years ago, I was in this very room arguing against independence, and we were told that independence was going to work itself out, the traffic study was okay, and now fast forward 5 years later, there's a proposal for an apartment. Well, if you're me and you're on a corner of 78 down from Kroger, there's already apartments there. Then if you're in Grayson, there's more apartments called Grayson, I think Croft of Grayson. So I have kids that go to Grayson High School, and there's an extension. My understanding is that with this new proposal, the school is going to be inundated with kids. We're trying to teach them how to drive. I don't know where they're going to go eat. There's a Publix, there's a Kroger. Are we going to have a new grocery store? So I just ask feverishly that you all deny this without prejudice. I'm Sean Thompson. Have a good evening. Sorry we're here late.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Are there any questions for the opposition? Thank you, sir. Thank you all for staying and for sharing with us. And with that, time for opposition is closed. And the applicant has, remind me how many minutes? 8.5 minutes remaining.
And I won't use all 8.5. I know we're getting late here, and I sincerely appreciate the comments from the community. Thanks to the mayor for those kind words. I've enjoyed working with him over the years, and I think we can put that experience to use here. And I'm encouraged to hear from some of our neighbors here tonight that there is a possibility for us to get together. And I think we all understand development's coming. I think we all understand that there's a serious demand for housing in Gwinnett County. There are evolving trends in housing preference and ownership structure that we're trying to stay ahead of and make sure that we have good quality housing that people living here can afford. But, and reasonable people can disagree about things too. But we think there's a great possibility to get together with the community, show them the high quality development that we're proposing to do here on the site. We're very encouraged by the comments that were made and look forward to those discussions. So Of course, we will welcome at the appropriate time and request Planning Commission's recommendation of approval, but I think we've got some good meetings ahead of us, so we, at this point, like to request to table the vote on this matter to the March meeting.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant?
Real quick, just so I know, because I may not be privy to all the future conversations, is there an option to remove multifamily and perhaps do more of a townhome, T&D, OSC, single family of some sort?
The multifamily is a core component of this proposed development. I don't think at this stage we could agree to forego that. So not at this point, but we do look forward to, if we have discussions with the community, we anticipate that we'll be asked to make some changes and accommodations and concessions. We look forward to figuring out what those are, but I couldn't, at this point, I couldn't say that.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions for the applicant? Okay, with that, I will close the public hearing. District 3, I'm ready for a motion.
Yes, Madam Chairman. I make a motion to table both RZM 2021-00002 and RZR 2021-0003 to our March's meeting. And I also want to say that I want both parties to get together and have a meeting, and be sure to reach out to myself as well as Commissioner Williams, and we would like to make sure that we're involved in those meetings as well.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table RZM 2021-00002 and RZR 2021-00003 to the March meeting. There is no discussion on tabling. All in favor? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you all for coming tonight.